Welcome to the Robot Report podcast. I'm Gene Demetri, Editorial Director for Robotics at WTWH Media, which includes the Robot Report and Automated Warehouse. Joining me today is Sean Walters, who is the General Manager at Captron North America. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on, Gene.
So, Sean, you're just telling me that this is a new experience for you, but let's talk a little bit about the Robotic Summit. How's it been for you so far?
Well, yesterday we came in early and got set up with the robot. We had some challenges we had to figure out, but we got through them. And then first thing this morning, we got barraged with a ton of people. And so
Really?
far, our experience has been incredible. And as you can hear, there's a great buzz going on outside. So we're definitely looking forward to what the next 2 days will bring.
That's fantastic. And what can you tell our audience a little bit about Captron? What is it that you do, what you provide?
So Captron is a German-based company. We've been around for about 40 years, so we're not new, but we're fairly new to the U.S. market. So I say we're kind of a startup here in the U.S., but our roots have always been in automation and solving some kind of problem, right? Because that's really what automation is about, is solving a problem. And our founder had worked in another sensor company, and they didn't want to solve a problem, so he decided to take it home and solve it himself and birth Captron. So about 42 years now, primarily around the capacitive technologies, so capacitive sensing, capacitive touch, some HMI stuff, but we also have a robotics section that calibrate robotics as well. So around different parts of automation. We've been around that for 42 years.
And I know we've talked before about components and the importance of having the right components
Yeah.
for robotic applications, but you brought up the analogy of a Jeep. Can you talk a little bit about how is Captron's products like Jeep accessories?
Well, yeah, it's like a Jeep thing, right? That's what I always tell people. But automation's about like a jigsaw puzzle, right? It's how you put different things together that works for that application. And we're one of those really neat accessories that, hey, if you want to be a Jeep and you're going to go into the woods and really get into the dirt of things and you need a winch to get out of the dirt in case you get stuck, we're that winch, we're that insurance piece. So I've always liked being in that accessory world where you make that automation do what you want it to do. For our robotics piece, we're just quality assurance. We're the insurance to make sure that that product's doing what you want it to do. I mean, if you're going to buy a $40, $50, $100,000 robot, you're going to want to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why I say it's like a Jeep thing.
And you talk about the ruggedness and reliability of things. Can you give an example of some of those applications that you're helping to enable?
Well, one of our launching points for the U.S. was Amazon, and it's obviously a great resume builder for us. But we've been in capacitive technology, at least on the touch side, since about the mid 1990s. If you were to go to Germany or Italy, or you'll see us on buses everywhere. You'll see a little button and get on the bus or get off the bus. You can't miss us. Well, at some point, an Amazon engineer was in Europe, and they saw this button on the side of the bus and said, "Hey, we have a problem. Our mechanical buttons can't take this constant picking, right?" And so they reached out to us, which is our history, we like to solve problems, and said, "Hey, we would like to see what you guys can do for us." So we decided to take our standard button and add a display feature to it. So one of the things that, our claim to fame is there's not a package that arrives at your door that wasn't impacted by us. So ultimately, Amazon has purchased somewhere north of 600,000 or 700,000 buttons from us and haven't had any failures. So that's the ruggedness we bring to the table.
All that from a bus ride.
All that from a bus ride.
And tell me, you mentioned that you're moving into the North American market.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any differences in terms of your approach or in terms of the kinds of applications that you're seeing demand for?
Certainly an approach. We have to make sure our customers understand what we bring to the table. I mean, we have an HMI. It's a very simple HMI, but it can do some very unique things for customers. It can handle washdown. It can handle very rugged environments, but at the same time, it can bring information to the user in a very simple way. It makes it intuitive. And again, we are where people and machines connect. So that's kind of, we want to make it easy for somebody who may not have a lot of machine experience to be able to walk up to an application and, "Hey, use this product. If you have a problem, stop or go or whatever." That's where we come into play.
So you're really that physical side of the human-machine interface.
We are, yeah.
And you mentioned indoor applications. You do indoor and outdoor applications?
Both. Yeah, for indoor, it's all about solving problems, right? What makes sense for the customer? We're not going to be a button for everybody on the control side of our business, and we're not going to be a calibration sensor for everybody on the robotics side of our business. It's what do you want to use it for? So we really excel in washdown applications. We excel where customers want to have versatility of IO link. So if they want to put together multiple parts of a machine and be able to box it up and ship it to their customer, we make that really easy for them. We integrate with IO Link, so we have that communication protocol. At the same time, our goal is to make it easy for the user. So I've had situations where I explain what our products can do for a customer. At the end of the day, they just like the way it looked. And they said, well, we can make it do this and that, and we don't have to change it.
That's
and
important.
It looks this way. They loved it.
And in terms of you mentioned obviously there's the look and feel of things, but there's also the importance of data, right? And
The importance of what?
of data and communications.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much do you feel that you're connected to or involved with like IIoT? Because we hear a lot about that nowadays,
Sure.
obviously feeding it ultimately into AI. But how much is your connectivity enabling that part of it?
Well, through IO Link, we have a bunch of it, right? So, I mean, anybody can take the data from our button and import it right into whatever edge device they have, or, hey, I want to see how this user is performing versus that user. That's all information they can take right from our instruments, right from our products. So we are not directly an IIoT device, collecting that data, but they can take our information and use it, put it on dashboards. For example, I mean, Amazon is a great application,
Sure.
right? You have the AMRs bringing the product to the users, picking stations. With our products, you can calculate how well that user's doing. Is there an issue that needs to be addressed? All that is data that can easily be collected from our products to show users, hey, this is how you can improve your processes.
And you mentioned Amazon, but obviously you have also a lot of partnerships with robotics providers and OEMs. I know Universal Robots is one that you've worked with in the past. Can you talk a little bit about the nature of partnerships or the ones that you want to highlight?
Well, I mean, partnerships are huge, right? And in our robotics side of our business, we started with Universal Robot, but our products are actually agnostic.
Okay.
We have a lot of great customers. I mean, Tesla's one of them. They use our products for quality assurance like that. But working with folks like Fennec and Kuka right now is developing our products that will integrate easily into their products as well. But it's all about that ease of use, right? I mean, again, what problem are we solving? We're solving the problem if that tooltip is not exactly where it's supposed to be, we help that, right? And that's really important in a lot of applications. Not every. I mean, if you have a picking application, it's probably not important if you're picking up some loaves of bread and putting in a crate. But if you're dispensing into vials, or if you're doing some kind of adhesion on a microchip, you're going to want to know that tooltip is exactly where it's supposed to be every time.
Well, and I like that you take the sort of engineering approach to things like, oh, we like solving problems, right? It's not just about product. It's really about working with people to address their need, whether it's aesthetic or, connectivity or that level of robustness that's really required.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for us at Captron, I mean, we've been a project-based company our whole lives, right? And that's part of my DNA is I like helping people solve problems. I mean, yeah, you can just sell something, but if it doesn't actually do what they're looking for, somehow improve the process, help them to their market, then the partnership really isn't there. So that's always been a core focus of mine as well as Captron's.
And we talked before about educating both the market, but also the next generation of engineers. Can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that? Because that's a big challenge, right?
Well, we just had 3 students show up at our booth, one of the first folks that showed up at our booth, and I was very impressed with them. They first of all, they took the time to engage folks on LinkedIn, right? So they're about to one of them has graduated, 2 of them are about to graduate in this space, software and security, and one in just automotive or automation in general. First of all, they took the time to connect with us, right? And then we gave them some tickets to this show. They're walking around the show, and what I saw was their passion, right? And we have a young person that works for us who just graduated last year. He's absolutely killing it. He wasn't in this space, but he has an eagerness to learn. And I think what we were talking about in our is what does this next generation look like? And in my perspective is a little bit, I think, different as we don't have the average that they had. And I don't know how old you are, Gene. How old are you?
I'm 57.
Okay, so you're getting a couple years on me. I'm 46, but I think in both of our generation, there was a pretty good average.
Yeah.
In this younger generation, there's this kind of like they're either not so great at all or they're rock stars. And I think our job is to help the rock stars really develop. And that's why I was excited these students came to see us.
It actually gives me a lot of hope. Like, there's a lot of doom and gloom. Oh, there's, skilled labor shortages, and you hear a lot about that. But every time I meet students, whether it's here at the Robotic Summit and Expo or out in the world, like, it really gives me hope because they're sharper than we were at their age. I don't know about you, but when I was 22, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was lucky I ended up here.
Sure,
But
I'm in that same boat.
the knowledge to say, oh, I need to reach out and connect professionally. I need to find mentors. I need to understand the market I'm entering. It is a matter of connecting things, and they have an ability that I'm frankly quite impressed by.
Very much so. I mean, the one thing like what Eli does is he takes different technologies that I wouldn't have even thought about using. Like, this Raspberry Pi thing, we always kind of joke internally. He's got all these neat names for stuff, but he takes this Raspberry Pi and he takes our data from our products and he puts them up on a dashboard so that, he puts all these things together very easily
Right.
and very effectively. And I think that's really what this next generation is going to be tasked with, right? So there's all different levels of automation, right? You got full-blown walking robots out here in Boston Dynamics. Well, that may not be the entry point for everybody into automation, right? There's going to be step functions to this, right? There's a long way to go before some place is going to have lights out automation, right?
I have a panel on that later. So
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay, excellent. Yeah. So, they're going to have to figure out what works for the opportunities that they're working on. And I think that's going to be so fun to watch and how they figure it out, how they work together to do that.
Well, and that's something else is that, we have a generation of digital natives, but at the same time, whether you're even in psychology or the humanities or mechanical, electrical, computer engineering, there's still a role for you in robotics. And no matter what level of skill you may have, as long as you're curious and open to learning, I find that guarantees success
Oh,
in
absolutely.
the space. You're willing to pivot and learn and change. But it is always a challenge because, like, how do you connect people to those opportunities? And it sounds like you've already done some of that mentoring yourselves at your company.
Well, one, I think it's huge for our country, right? So we do have to reach out to people. And our marketing team, we reach out. We want to engage folks. We work with local schools, stuff like that. We're getting more involved with that as we speak, so that we can encourage that next generation to come into this space. Everyone wants to be the Google and Amazon, and all of that's great. I got nothing to knock it, but putting stuff in our backyard in our country and automating it, that is critical. It's absolutely critical for all of our success.
And I love the multidisciplinary aspect, but also there's that immediacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're working on a robot and it addresses a problem, right? There's not the ambiguity that you might have with other technologies. It's like, well, am I doing good? Is it successful?
Sure.
Reality here is a pretty straightforward teacher.
Yep, absolutely.
And like, if someone's just getting into this space, because I talk to a lot of like high school or undergrads, what would you advise them to do or to look out for?
Well, one, I would say the first thing is be open. Be open to anything, right? Just look at the market. The gentleman we hired, Eli, he's fresh out of App State last year. He was in cybersecurity, no intentions of getting into the automation space
Really?
at all. And he was just open to, hey, what does this company do? So that's the first step. Like, what you thought you were going to do when you left college, or if you're in a specific skill, don't pigeonhole yourself into that. That would be the very first thing. The second thing I would say is be willing to learn anything, right? And ask questions. We have a mentorship program where people can shadow different people inside of my men's group kind of thing. And I did that with my daughters. Like, go see what other people do. I was a young man. My dad kind of had an interesting background. He was a scuba instructor. So I had no idea what people did in these buildings all over the place, right? So be curious. I think that's probably the number one thing. Be curious and just be willing to learn.
Yeah, I would agree with that because, and that actually is not just related to age, right? Being willing to learn.
Absolutely.
It's a lifelong skill if you know what you're doing in robotics.
Right.
So many people I talk to here, they might have multiple degrees. They're certainly smarter than I am, but they're always learning.
Always learning.
And that'll give you a career rather than a job. And that's a tricky thing right now, because for students, it's a really challenging market they're coming out into. And is that something that you're seeing at all also? Is that, how is robotics in terms of people's awareness?
I think we're becoming more aware of it. I think education, educational institutions are doing a better job preparing people. I still think there's a long way to go.
What would you like to see them do differently?
What's that?
What would you like to see them do differently?
I would like to see more high school students being able to get into shadowing opportunities, internship opportunities, stuff like that, where they can just see what's out there. Right? They don't know what they don't know. I didn't. You didn't, right?
No.
Like you said, our
Don't follow-
futures
don't
didn't look
follow
so
our
bright at
model.
22, right? But if they knew what was out there and how intriguing it could be,
Yeah.
I think they would have a lot more interest in this. So I think that would be one big step that we could do as a society to help that generation get out there.
Well, Sean, thank you so much for the time. I look forward to continuing this conversation
Yeah.
and learning more about Captron.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for having me on.